Hello and welcome to the October edition of Inside Beds, the programme that shows off all that's great about UOB. I'm Toby Pope and I'll be guiding you through today's show. We've got lots coming up, take a look.
On Inside Beds this month, he starred in over 100 movies and is one of Tollywood's biggest stars. Naresh Vijaya drops by to tell us about his career on the big screen. We'll be dusting off our glad rags as we head down to the grand opening of this year's Art and Design MA show. We have a special feature on one of the university's most intriguing societies, the Beekeeping Society. And we'll be asking freshers from years gone by to pass on some words of wisdom to this year's crop of first years.
Sometimes you'll pick alcohol over food and just don't do that. Not a good idea.
Very wise words. I wish I'd taken her advice. Well, as we say hello to a lot of new freshers, we also have to say goodbye to some students who finished their studies here. Last month, a lot of our talented art and design students finished their postgraduate programmes and put on an amazing end-of-year show. We went down to take a look.
The School of Art and Design showed off their students' hard work and talent earlier this month in the Graduate Show 2017. Showcasing the eclectic mix of postgraduate work produced in the school, this year's exhibition featured a fabulous mix of forms, visuals and materials. We caught up with some of the artists who talked us through their work.
So in my project, I chose to develop biomimicry into spatial design with this project where I was stopping to lyrebird, which lyrebird can reproduce sounds, natural and artificial, and using biomimicry, I extract her sound and through the sound I create this 3D model. So this is a representation of a sound.
My exhibition, my installation is an exploration about pattern, and that pattern is where my journey started, my research journey started. And in exploring pattern and interrogating pattern, I was really looking at how humans occupy space and trying to investigate where, for example, jewellery ends and where clothing begins and where clothing ends and where architectural space begins. I'm blurring the lines between jewellery and clothing and then using the same unit of construction to clad a body as well as potentially a building.
The project I work on is a visualization and exploration of non-verbal communication within movement, looking at contact and movement in dance, in casual movement. How does it affect the communication? How do we communicate through contact and the movement? Looking for the concept is always my most painful process of the work because it's a lengthy process. It's the most important part because if you're doing something and you don't really know why you're doing it, it doesn't really make much sense.
The graduate show marks the culmination of a lot of hard work for the students who sounded like they had really benefited from working alongside such a diverse group of artists on their MA programme.
I did enjoy the experience. It was quite interesting because we have quite a wide variety of students here working in spatial design, art and design, paintings and graphic design. So that's quite an interesting idea of this mixture coming together.
The experience was good. The experience was challenging in many ways. It was challenging because what you think you know from your undergraduate course, all of that is questioned. You're encouraged to question what you already know.
The opening night of the show attracted quite a crowd of students, staff and other members of the public. But just how important is it that the artist's work is displayed in this way?
I think it's a really great idea, and it's nice that we have the chance to display our work and to be seen by different people, or probably people who are working in this field.
It's about not just making the work, but about thinking how does it look in a different perspective, how does it look with other people's work, how to present it and how to present yourself. And if someone else comes and asks you about your work, you obviously need to talk about it, which is a part of the work as well.
Putting things on display once you're done is a really good time to show off the hard work and the sweat and the tears, and really showcase what I as a designer can do, but also what we as a group of designers and artists can do. And because it's open to the public, it's also showcasing what the University School of Art and Design can do. So it's showcasing on many levels.
Well, as a showcase, this was a huge success and a visual feast. Congratulations to all the artists involved.
It was a great show and we wish all of our graduates the best of luck. How are you freshers doing? Did you survive Welcome Week? Did you make it to your classes, or did you spend all of your student loan at the SU bar and miss your first few weeks of classes due to freshers flu? Happens to the best of us. But how should you approach your first few weeks of university life? We spoke to some student veterans on their do's and don'ts guide to life as a fresher.
My advice as a fresher is to make friends, do everything you can and have fun.
My advice is to join communities for sports so that you can just socialise with people, because it's the easiest way to communicate with people without being in an uncomfortable situation.
I think the best thing I've done during freshers is going out every evening just to meet other freshers. That helped me build my friendships that I currently still have up to this day.
My advice for the first year student is apply a lot, self-study. Don't think this doesn't count, so don't get drunk too many times after uni.
Make sure you attend all your lectures and you don't miss a lecture because you can miss something really important. And just basically stay on top of all your work, because it can get quite intense as your course goes on.
My advice the first year is to get involved with as many things as possible, any societies, sports teams, whatever. Just the point is to get involved with the uni's social life.
I'd say go into the library, go to all your lessons, that's important. Go to start activities, talk to different people.
I think the best advice that you can give to someone that's a fresher is the loan seems like a lot of money because it comes all at once, but it's not an awful lot of money. So enjoy Freshers Week, but don't make a habit of it because it costs a lot of money and you'll run out, and sometimes you'll pick alcohol over food, and just don't do that. Not a good idea.
You shouldn't turn up drunk to lessons because it's not good, is it?
And if you ever get stuck or in some sort of problem, you should always speak to the university about it, or you should speak to your tutors about it.
Some things I would avoid would be staying out all night, partying every night, because then you will be behind on your work and you won't be focused for the 9 o'clock lecture the next morning.
Personally, I'd avoid trying to doing the typical I can do this assignment without actually looking at it and then leaving it too late.
And for the girls, try not to get involved with too many uni boys, because that's going to come back to you and it's not a nice thing.
As a first year student, I'd probably avoid getting too used to late night events, because if you sort of miss lectures or seminars, you're going to have a hard time catching up and also trying to get a good grade.
The worst thing that I did as a fresher is I was too hungover to come to class a couple of times.
The worst thing I've done on freshers is probably make friends with Toby.
Oh, well, thanks a bunch. I'll defriend her later. Now, starting university life can be a big deal for most students. It can be fun, but it can also be quite stressful. It's perhaps no surprise then that cases of student stress, anxiety and mental health issues have been on the rise over the last few years. The University of Bedfordshire is no different, but we are very fortunate to have an ACE support team who are here to help. And I'm now joined by one of the team, Gale. Jill, why don't you tell me what you do here at this university?
Okay, well, I'm the mental health advisor at the university, and I support students around managing their study and their mental health in whatever way is necessary, really. Sometimes that can be signposting them onto other services. Sometimes that can be supporting them with accessing disabled students allowances. Other times it's just someone to talk to when they're going through a difficult period. I'm not a counsellor, we do have counselling services as well, and so I might signpost them onto that as well. Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think mental health problems are beginning to become such an issue for students across the UK?
I think there's a number of factors at play here. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot more young people with mental health problems before they actually come to the university. There's an increase in prevalence of self-harm, of students experiencing depression and anxiety before they've even got to the university. The other thing I would say is that there's been a lot of campaigns around about reducing stigma. Time to Change is one of them. And I think with the reduction in stigma, I think that students are much more willing to declare that they have a mental health condition and to get support. Also, inevitably, there are the stresses of university which impact on the student's mental health as well.
Absolutely. So what kind of pressures and problems do you think students face that sort of exacerbate these mental health issues?
Well, certainly I think one of the big ones is financial pressures, because as we're seeing now in the news, students are going away with increasing debt, and although they don't have to pay this money back straight away, that debt's always there, that's always in their mind. I think there's other things. There's the stresses of coming away to university. This may be the first time they've ever left home. There's certain things around culture. For some of our international students, they're coming to a very different environment. And also we have a lot of students here that come from small villages and towns, and they're coming to a big multicultural environment of Luton, which is quite different. And students can find that quite hard to deal with.
What are the warning signs you should look out for in yourself or perhaps in others?
Well, I think that the main things that I would say to look out for is things like if you're struggling with your sleep, if you're not sleeping well, because sleep can have a massive impact on your mental health. Also, it's about stress levels. Stress levels increase the likelihood of developing things like anxiety, paranoia. Or if you're starting to drink more alcohol, if you're using drugs, cannabis, for example, can lead on to paranoia in some cases, and also anxiety. So it's about thinking, am I drinking more? Am I not sleeping well? Am I really stressed? Am I not relaxing? Am I not resting? Am I not having time for myself?
No, that sounds like it would be an issue. What action should you take if you or someone you know is having mental health issues?
For me, I think the most important thing is you need to, as soon as you realise something's wrong for yourself or someone else, then you need to take action. I see students often at the end of the academic year who haven't done anything all year, they haven't kept up with their studies, they've clearly become, that their mood has been very low, and they've come too late, and they often end up having to repeat the year. I suppose what we're saying is, as soon as you think there's something not right, book in for an appointment with myself as the mental health advisor, go and see your GP, consider counselling. There's various options there. Perhaps talk to your family and say, have you noticed anything different with me? Do you think things are not right? Those are the sort of things I would suggest you do.
So what services can the university offer to help students with mental health issues?
Yeah, so as well as our support worker that works with students, and as well as students being able to apply for disabled students allowances, we also have a counselling service that offers will offer an assessment session and up to 6 sessions per academic year, and that's quite useful for students who are dealing with difficult things within their life, relationships. Maybe they're struggling with motivation, maybe they've gone through a recent bereavement or a loss.
How many students do you reckon you sort of speak with on a daily basis or weekly basis?
My diary is full, I would say. There's a limit to the amount of students I can see per week, but the service is always working to a fairly full capacity, but we do manage to get through all the students. At peak times, I would say the waiting list may be up to 2 weeks, but on the whole we try and see within the week of them making contact with the service and completing the forms they need to complete to access the service, I would say that they will get an appointment within a week normally.
That's brilliant, that's good to hear. So how can students get in touch with you?
Right, we have a mental health email address, which is basically mentalhealth, all one word, @beds.ac.uk. If you email that address, you will get sent a pre-assessment form, and that will just ask you a few questions around your mental health, around what you're struggling with, what you think we might be able to help you with. Once that form's completed, we will then contact you and send you out an appointment. And it's as simple as that.
Fair enough. And what would your main advice be to students with such issues?
To contact us sooner rather than later. I think that's the most important thing to remember.
Absolutely.
Don't leave it. You know, don't leave it till things are so bad that you can't get yourself back out again.
No, definitely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to hearing how things are going.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, sticking with Freshers' themes, I hope everyone signed up for one of the many societies during the Welcome Week. It's a great way to meet people, and there's so many to choose from, including musical theatre, Balls TV, the Doctor Who Society, and best of all, beekeeping. Yeah, you heard me right. We sent our reporter Tiana down to Puttridge Berry to find out more.
The University of Bedfordshire has a number of societies that all students can get involved in. One of the more unusual ones is the Beekeeping Society. We went to Puttridge Berry, where the bees are kept, to talk to Martin Furlow about his very intriguing hobby. Hello, I'm Tiana Cheyenne, and I'm here today at Puttridge Berry for Beds TV to have a look at the wonderful bees that live here. I'm joined here today by Martin Furlow, who looks after and owns the bees. Hello, Martin.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
So I understand that you've turned your hobby into a society for the university, a beekeeping society. Why did you do that?
Well, initially the project was set up by the co-set up by the Beds SU, and they brought some funds in to allow me to set up an apiary to give students and staff at the university the opportunity to understand the importance of pollinators and understand about beekeeping itself. And then, unfortunately, last year the funding went from the project, and clearly because they're living creatures, and you need funds. You constantly need funds to keep going through with the project. We had to think of another way to keep the project running. So the only way that we could do it, that we could think of doing it, was by setting up a student society, the University Bee Society.
And it became a society. That's
Yes.
really cool. So what exactly are we going to be doing to the bees today?
Well, today we're going to be treating them with oxalic acid, which is a derivative from rhubarb, the actual leaf of the rhubarb, and it's designed to kill off any mites that grow on the bees, particularly the varroa mite, which feeds on the back of the bee.
How did you first become interested in keeping bees?
Really, funny enough, I used to have honey in my tea, and I always dreamt that I would like to be a beekeeper. And about 10 years ago or so, my wife decided to buy me as a birthday present, and I spent a year being mentored by an apiarist and a society, and that's where I am now.
Okay, so I've never actually seen bees up close, so whenever you're ready, let's go have a look. So now we're going to head outside to see where the bees are kept and use the trickling solution on them to help them through the rest of the winter.
From flying away?
Yes.
I'm really scared. Don't worry, we're not going to lie.
It's because you're used to you're used to them almost, aren't you?
Unfortunately, one of Martin's hives didn't make it through the cold weather. This is a very sad but a regular occurrence for the bees in the UK. Now Martin must concentrate on his other two hives to make sure they make it to spring. Oh, that was so much fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So how would they go about buying the honey?
So the way to buy the honey is the actual honey is being sold in Butteridgeberry Canteen. So you go to the Butteridgeberry Canteen and you invest in by buying the honey. You're investing in the upkeep of the bees.
Oh, that's so great. And how would they go about joining the society if they wanted to?
Well, if to join the society, you just enrol via the Beds SU site. So you go onto the Beds SU site and then enrol as a member of the Bee Society.
That is so great. Okay, so I've really enjoyed looking at the bees. Thank you so much, Martin. I've been Tiana for Beds TV. Make sure you join that society. Bye.
Thanks, Tiana. I might sign up just so I can wear the outfit. Now, we've all heard of Hollywood and most of us have heard of Bollywood, but what about Tollywood? See, Tollywood refers to the Telugu language movie industry of Southeast India, and UOB this week was proud to host one of its biggest stars, Naresh Vijaya. He's made over 100 films and has worked in the industry for decades. He took time out of shooting a new film in the UK to drop by our Radiolab studios to talk to us about his career and his charity work.
అది మనం ఒక మారుతి కారు కొంటున్నాం అది చెప్పడానికి వచ్చాను
అవును మనం మారుతి కారు కొంటున్నాం నిజమా నాన్న
నిజం నిజం మారుతియే కొంటున్నాం
మారుతి వద్దు నాన్న
వద్దా Anu is a good girl.
So what do you think of Luton? Do you like it?
Yeah, I just come to Luton for the first time. I was in London for the last 1 week. I'm just looking at the university. It's very cheerful and a lot of constructive activity going on in various fields, and the infrastructure is nice. I've met the Vice Chancellor and I've met the Deputy Vice Chancellor and the Executive Dean and all the faculty. We had a 1 hour session, about 45 minutes of Indian cinema, exposing Indian cinema and interaction with the students. I've been quite thrilled with this particular visit to this university.
So, as you said, you said earlier you've acted in 200 films.
Yes.
What's been your favourite film, if you have one?
See, I mean, my travel in films is a long time. My entire family is into films, last 3 generations. My great-granduncle, my parents, and my son too into films. And I've started as a child actor in my 7th year. In 17th year, I was introduced as the first teenage lead role in Tollywood and Telugu language. So from there, I've not looked back. I've done about 200 films and in my busiest street in the second innings of my career. So I can't particularly, say this is the best film. It's very difficult to choose in 200 films. But then one film which I had done the role of a lady and acted as a lady, which was a super duper hit, which was a commercial hit, success and critical success, which I performed as a lady. So that is my showcase film. Every actor is in showcase film. This was my showcase film. It was done in the 90s. Even now, I'm doing about 8 films are on the floor at a time.
Wow, that's a lot of films.
That's very impressive. You were talking about your career. It says that you started your career around about in the 1970s, and you worked for 2 years, and then you had a 10-year gap. Can you just answer what you actually did in those 10 years?
So as a citizen, I felt responsible. I felt that it's time that not just politicians, but people from all walks of life should go to politics. I joined Vajpayee's BJP party, and I rose in the ranks as a youth wing leader, from the state youth wing, president of the state of the youth wing, national executive member. Then I was promoted to the parent organization, the Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, and I went into I came in as the state secretary, state general secretary, vice president. So this was about 6 years of my career. I had worked on this thing. So it was more out of a responsibility that I took up politics. But then I felt, politically, if you have the power, you can do it. But as a social activist, in a political, you are connected to one party. So you have a lot of enemies. But as a social activist, you're connected to everybody, all humans.
So you had a good 10 years. You got lots done, and you actually made a lot of good projects.
Yeah, I mean, I believe an actor should, for every human, there is a point you have to give back. You take it a lot from your mother, father, society, brothers, friends. So it's time to give back. So an actor, basically, yeah, you do entertain people, but the real poverty in India is still not eliminated. So the real service you can do is work for the rural India. So that was my focus, to build the rural India, and give them whatever possible from my side as a human, as an actor, as a social activist.
అది వెళ్తుందిలేండి. మీరు ముందు స్నానం చేసి రండి, టిఫిన్ పెడతాను.
ఈరోజు స్నానం చేయడానికి ఓపిక లేదు.
ఓపిక లేకపోతే కంపోస్టులు గొయ్యలా తోతారు?
అది తావడానికి అంత స్టామినా లేదు. అంత రాత్రి అయిపోయింది.
To the students that are doing performance and want to get into the industry that you're in, what advice would you give them from your standpoint?
Yeah, see, films change the scenario of the world, entertainment scenario of the world. Till then there was only stage or a few performing arts, which are very precious. But then the silver screen, the celluloid became a global phenomenon. It's everybody loves to watch films, be in films, some of them. But then many people look at only the glamour side of the films. That's where you fail. Films is serious business. So when you're in films, I say you need a lot of dedication, perseverance, discipline, PR, and also you need a reasonable amount of talent to have the take on the competition. So all this makes you a good actor or a technician. In the long term, what holds you is your discipline, and apart from your talent, it's your discipline. When I came into films, it was very difficult to enter films because there are no other, to get into a studio, it's very difficult. It's a very closed atmosphere. Now with the YouTube and so much of exposure, a lot of young people are shooting short films in small budget and making it a platform to use in films. So your opportunities are more now. But when you get the opportunities, utilize them and respect films.
Wise words from a really cool guy. Thanks for coming to visit us, Naresh. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. If you like what you saw, there's plenty more to be found on our YouTube Beds TV channel. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We're all over the place. And please join us for next month's edition of Inside Beds. Thanks for watching.